So for members of the public that are online, we are in the process of assembling. Our closed session ran just a little bit late. We anticipate starting in approximately 2 minutes. Okay, thank you for your patience. It is 7:04. I'm calling the meeting of the San Leandro City Council to order. Today is Monday, September 3rd, 2024. Like I said, it's 7:04 p.m. I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you're able to. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this point in time, we will have Madam Clerk take our roll, please.
Councilmember Aguilar.
Present.
Councilmember Azevedo. Councilmember Baloo.
Present.
Councilmember Bowen. Councilmember Viveros Walton.
Present.
Vice Mayor Simon.
Present.
Mayor Gonzalez.
Present.
All members are present.
As for announcements, the City of San Leandro conducts orderly meetings to facilitate its mandate. Discriminatory statements or conduct that would potentially violate the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1964 and or the California Fair Employment and Housing Act, California Penal Code Section 403 or 415, are per se disruptive to a meeting and will not be tolerated. Please see the City Council Handbook and City Council Meeting Rules of Decorum for more information. Madam Clerk, for your announcement, please.
If you would like to make a public comment during the meeting, you can do so in person or via Zoom. If you are present at the meeting, please complete a speaker card and submit it to the city clerk before the item is presented. If you wish to participate in public comment via Zoom, you can use the raise your hand tool when the item is called. During the public comment session, speakers will be invited to speak and will have a set time to share their comments. A countdown timer will appear for their convenience, and when the time is up, the microphone will be muted. All raised hands outside of public comment will be lowered to avoid confusion. Once public comment is opened, hands may be raised to speak. There will be a 30-minute window for public comments, which will take place under item 7, public comments, as per the published agenda. After this time is up, the council will proceed with the rest of the meeting's agenda. If you have not had the opportunity to speak during the initial 30-minute period, there will be another chance to do so after item 12, city council reports. Thank you.
Is there any report on closed session action taken?
Thank you, Mayor. There were no reportable actions taken in closed session, but direction was provided to staff.
Thank you. So at this point, we'll go to item 4, recognitions. Today, we have a proclamation declaring September 2024 as National Preparedness Month. We've got firefighter Curtis Myers and CERT instructor Don Fair here. Are you here? Stand up and come on down. It is September and we're just coming back from that break. The cobwebs are being cleared out. So here we go. September 2024, National Preparedness Month. I know that you guys do a lot personally to help promote preparation here in the city of San Leandro. So we'll begin by saying thank you to both of you. So whereas National Preparedness Month, observed every September since 2004, creates an ideal opportunity for everyone. That's you guys and everyone who's not here. Watching online, please share the word. It's an opportunity for everyone in San Leandro to join people across the United States in preparing their homes, businesses, and the broader community for any type of emergency, including natural, technological, human-caused, any kind of emergency. And whereas planning and investing in preparedness of ourselves, our families, our businesses now, before a disaster strikes, can reduce fatalities, economic devastation, as well as improve community recovery and strengthen resiliency in our community and as a nation. And whereas all residents of San Leandro are urged to plan ahead for disasters and to encourage their family and friends to do the same by participating in neighborhood preparedness activities, registering their contact information in the AC Alert, Alameda County Alert System, right? In the AC Alert and Nixle Mass Notification Systems, and by visiting the Preparedness Campaign website, ready.gov. Pretty easy to remember, ready.gov. For essential preparedness tips and information. Now, therefore, I, Juan Gonzalez, the third mayor of the city of San Leandro, do hereby proclaim September 2024 is National Preparedness Month here in San Leandro, and urge all community members and businesses to develop their own emergency preparedness plans, build a kit, prepare for disasters, and talk to friends and family about preparedness in order to prevent a stronger, more resilient community. Now, I proclaim, but you all agree, right? Okay, it's good to see so many head nods here in the room. I'll pass the mic to you guys if you want to say a few words. So, and I'll jump at it.
I don't know about a few words, but simply, if you haven't heard about what a lot of the stuff that we do personal emergency preparedness, our PEP classes. We also offer a CERT program, which is community emergency response training. We highly recommend that all of you sign up. This is a free service that's offered by the city and the Alameda County Fire Department. And we'd love to have you out there. We teach you how to build kits, what to do in case of emergency, how to handle your utilities, basic first aid, all sorts of things that can help not only you and your family, but also your neighbor and then your block and then your entire city, which is the goal. So that once you can take care of yourselves, you can take care of each other and we can all participate in the next emergency because we all know the earthquake's coming. We just don't know when, so we'd like to be prepared.
So at this point in time, I will turn to the consent calendar, item number 5. This opportunity to pull any items if there's anything that you think requires further discussion. If not, if there are no problems with the consent calendar, I would gladly entertain a motion. Councilmember Azevedo, please.
Yes, I'll move this item.
Okay, and Vice Mayor, please.
Second?
Yes, I've got a motion from Councilmember Azevedo and a second from our Vice Mayor, Vice Mayor Simon. Prior to taking a vote, I would accept comments from our public on our consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor, we're just double checking to see if the one public comment came in, if it's for consent.
Thank you.
It is consent? Okay. Thomas, you can make your public comment now.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Kleisel. I'm president of the San Leandro Golf Club. And as it relates to the potential renewal of the American Golf Corporation's contract, I would like to inform the City Council that our board met in May of this year and unanimously passed a resolution in support of the renewal of the contract. Our membership has grown over the year from 92 to now 116 members. We have incredible diversity in terms of race, age, gender. And if there's one piece of advice I'd give the City Council is to associate a 5-year employment contract for the people who work on behalf of the American Golf Corporation at the Monarch Bay Golf Course. They are by far the best ambassadors representing your city. And we have so much respect and honor for their personnel that without any question, our club has unanimously voted in favor of supporting them. So thank you very much for your time and consideration, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, there is no more public comment.
So with that, I will close public comment and turn to my council and say, is there anything else that we need to discuss on this item? Seeing no interest, let's vote.
All votes are in. Motion passes unanimous, 7-0.
Item number 6, do we have any city attorney report today? No city attorney report. What about city manager? Is there a report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. It is my pleasure to announce that the state of California recently awarded San Leandro with the coveted pro-housing designation, which is a distinction given to jurisdictions that have made an extraordinary commitment to supporting housing production. Achieving this designation was a key goal in the city's housing element update, which was certified by the state in early 2023. To date, only about 10% of cities statewide have received this pro-housing designation. Based on the strength of the city's housing policies and programs, the city earned 64 points in its pro-housing application, which is the top score in the Bay Area and is tied for the 4th highest scoring application in the state. The city's effort was led by Assistant Community Development Director Avalon Schultz and the Community Development Department, and made possible through the City Council's support of pro-housing policies. The city's Human Services and Public Works Department staff were also key contributors to the city's successful pro-housing application. By earning the pro-housing designation, the city now has priority access to housing, community development, and infrastructure funding opportunities administered by the state. Thank you, Mayor. That concludes my announcement.
Okay, that deserves a round of applause. Fourth highest in the entire state of California. That says something. Okay, let's move on to public comment. We're taking public comment. This is the time when any person may address council on matters not listed on the agenda, but which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Do we have folks online who would like to comment?
Mr. Mayor, there's no hands up online, and I have 3 speaker cards in person.
We have our in-room people line up. Can we get the 3? I'm going to take online first. So I'm just waiting a second, but they can get ready to speak.
We have Kat Wellman, Moira Fry, and then Leo West.
Okay, seeing no public comment online, I will close that portion. We're going to focus on the room then.
Good evening. I'm Kat Wellman, president of Bovia, that supports the opening of Lake Chabot Road. Next week, you're going to hear from a number of San Leandro residents who want the city to open Lake Chabot Road right now to alternating one-way traffic with signals at either end. If you do not open the road to through traffic, it is not and never will be a known, usable, viable, or safe evacuation route. When there is an emergency, we all go into autopilot mode. Ask any first responder. The reason for intensive training is to have the muscle memory to do what is required in a time-sensitive, high-pressure situation when there's no time to think, only act. Such is the case when one is told that there is only a short period of time to leave your home with whatever you can grab due to an emergency evacuation. Lake Chabot Road with the bolted bollards in front of open gates will not be used by the hundreds of residents who need it. Why? One, we haven't driven the road in over 18 months. It is no longer part of our muscle memory. Two, we do not even know if it's safe to drive on the road. And if it is, it should be opened to one-way traffic alternating at least. Three, no one wants to risk damage to their vehicle by driving over the bollards. You think this is not a real fear? Tell that to a very large commercial tree trimming truck with an articulating arm and basket that unbolted and removed the bollards rather than drive over them just last week to get in and out of Lake Chabot Road. Unless you open Lake Chabot Road to through traffic now to alternating one-way traffic with signals at either end, you are risking the public safety of over 3,500 residents if there is a fire or earthquake or other devastating emergency. Next week, please do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Moira Fry.
Evening. Thank you for letting me speak. As reported by the point in time count conducted in January of 2024, San Leandro has at least 350 unsheltered homeless people living here. They live where they can outside of the boundaries of our civilized society in encampments, parking lots, parks, curbsides, sidewalks, doorways. They live in these places for so many different reasons, but mostly because they have nowhere else to live. There are a multitude of problems, both which cause and exacerbate the inability to have solid housing, but at the root of these are the facts that rent in California is exorbitant. Two, safety net benefits have not kept pace with the living costs of being in the Bay Area or this state. And three, there are not enough low and extremely low rental housing units available to meet the human needs of the neediest people in all of our communities. Governor Newsom has let government agencies in California know they should be clearing encampments throughout the state. Several entities have recently passed ordinances reducing the amount of time between posting and clearing from 72 hours to 24 hours under the guise of helping people. In California, there are approximately 70,000 shelter beds. There are approximately 160,000 unsheltered homeless for those beds. In San Leandro, we have 0 shelter beds for men. They just don't exist. They never have. We do, fortunately, and have always had shelter for women and children. And for that, I thank people in this room for continuing that. Currently, the belongings of people who live in the street.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I sent this to you. Thank you.
Theo West.
In the last city council public meeting, a good number of people spoke about election integrity or the lack of it. I worked as a precinct inspector for 20 years on election day. And in 2020, I worked as a judge because the neighborhood precincts have been eliminated by the Democrats. So much for the Democrats' claim that they want to make it easier to vote. With mail voting, several election rules are violated. The secrecy of the vote is violated because your name is on the envelope. So anyone who has access to the register of voters roster knows your party affiliation and what the vote inside is for. The custody of the ballot rule is also violated. When mail carriers, post office workers, warehouse workers handle the ballots, and who knows who else have access to the warehouses where the ballots are stored for up to a month. No wonder that after the 2020 election, ballots were found dumped in the Santa Cruz Mountains. In the 90s, we had electronic voting machines, but Democrats and progressives complained that they cannot be trusted and got rid of them. But now that the Democrats control the process, oh, they are just fine. The system is rigged, folks. That's why the 2 council members ran unopposed. Fewer people want to put their names to participate in a rigged system. There's only one solution: DJT.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, there is no more public comment.
That I will close public comment and move to the next item on our agenda. The next item is item number 8, which is public hearings. We have none today. We also do not have presentations under item number 9. For item number 10, action items, we have 2 orders of business today. Our first is a resolution to approve the 2024 San Leandro Economic Development Strategy, item 10A. And during the very beginning of this item, I need to step out very briefly to take care of some business. And so I'm going to ask Vice Mayor to be in charge of the meeting until I return, which should be shortly, but just, you're in capable hands with Vice Mayor Simon. So Economic Development Manager Katie Bowman will lead us in this item.
Good evening, council members, Vice Mayor Katie Bowman, Economic Development Manager, here to present the final draft of the 2024 Economic Development Strategy. And we have shared this strategy in its draft form with you in July. And so what we're going to focus on today is the additions and updates that have been made since you last saw it and what we're going to do next. And if at any point you want more detail on any of the strategies, we can circle back to that. So, first, just to orient anyone in the audience as to what we're doing with an economic development strategy, it is a strategy and work plan to focus our work as a city and focus our resources on in the ways that will most efficiently benefit the local economy and builds on previous planning activities that the city has done, and also works to create revenue for the city and successful businesses, which will help support our other city council priorities as well. And before I go on, I just want to briefly thank all of, we've been working for almost a year, doing a broad amount of public outreach, several community meetings, door-to-door outreach, stakeholder meetings, as well as meeting with you all. Thank you to the Finance Committee for your support. And also, we've worked with a good team of consultants, Strategic Economics, who drafted the plan, Alex Greenwood, who is here with us tonight, who helped us with policy and project management, Winter, who did public outreach, and Civil Economics, who did the creative economy study, which I'll talk about. And so what have we done since we last saw you? First, what's not mentioned here, but is on your dais there, is we have worked to create a readable a formatted version of this strategy. And so we have some copies as well here for anyone who would like. And if approved tonight, we'll get some glossy versions that we can get to you as well. But the goal here is to create a manageable document that can be used by SS staff as well as by other people who are looking to work here, bring a business here. And so it as well will be an informational as well as marketing tool. And so we're very excited. It really, I think, captures the beauty and vibrancy of our community. And in addition to that, we've done, I'm talking about adding additional information as well as additional emphasis with your direction and feedback from the community. And so really looking to focus, make sure that the strategy really highlights the focus and is mindful of how we're going to do it, when we're going to do it, where we're going to work. And then as well, through the emphasis, looking in particular to really name, as we talked about at the last meeting, equity and inclusion. And in particular, while some of our initial strategies help to bring in new companies, for instance, some of our last three related to retail, small business, and workforce really will help to support people and to bring resources in an equitable manner, as well as reduce barriers to entry and really help to do that. Also looking at how we can address some of the really known and named and challenges related to security in ways that we can target our grants to help with that, target our interdepartmental work to harness all of the power of city staff. And finally, to help focus and be really mindful and proactive about how we share the resources, such as business incentives, and make sure that those with the highest need know about them. And so just briefly, what is the goal of this strategy and the work? And just to take us one step back, the whole genesis for this is from the larger community vision that was established through the 2035 general plan for the city. And so this works to implement that from an economic and business perspective. And so it talks about a vision for San Leandro that is safe, attractive, vibrant, sustainable, healthy, and economically resilient. And so how does this translate into a specific vision for the economic development work? And as I've talked with you before, a lot of the vision and values and goals came from an analysis of what are our challenges, what are our strengths, and where can we focus our work to build upon our strengths. And so really one thing that has come out of this that all of you know, I'm sure, but we want to make sure that the greater Bay Area knows is that, you know, a lot of the benefits we see can really be summed up in looking at San Leandro as a unique blend between urban and suburban, and to embrace that and what benefits does that bring? It can bring culture. We have a lot of authenticity. We have amazing restaurants and all of these type of things that many communities try to create. And we have it all naturally. It is who we are. And so we look to build on that. And so to look at the strategies, which we've talked with you before in 6 key areas. And in the final version, really, we work to identify what the initial focus is going to be, to focus our work and to help you and the community and us all be working towards the same goals in the same manner. And so really the 4 strategies that really will be kicking all of this off is what we're calling an innovation action strategy, which is a way to proactively look at how we can attract the target industries that I can talk about here in a moment, where we have a competitive advantage and that are growing and that can bring good jobs. Also to do what's called a brand assessment and marketing strategy. And so really think about how are we perceived in the market? Are there any, where there's negative perception, understand that and learn and respond to it in a way that will resonate well, as well as looking at how to proactively recruit the types of retail that is growing in the new retail landscape and that we know the community wants. And then finally, as we look to attract businesses that provide good jobs and jobs that have career pathways, how do we connect that with our community? How do we have our whole community share in the success? So that's through workforce partnership strategy. Also, you'll see in here a heat map, which highlights the different areas across town where strategies will be implemented. And also throughout the document, we have integrated the creative economy analysis. And just as a reminder, this is a new element that we brought to the strategy that is unique, is something that we haven't done before and we're not seeing a lot of communities do. And so we worked with that firm, Civil Economics, to look at what are our opportunities for the future in the creative economy. How can we plant seeds today that will help us continue to have opportunities for jobs such as digital film production and video production, and that are growing and that we're seeing people that maybe live here commuting to work for a firm somewhere else that does that. And so different examples where you'll see this throughout the document is looking to target these types of businesses through small business assistance, through incentives, also from a physical scale, identifying areas where we can support or encourage cultural or entertainment type zones, particularly along East 14th. And so we've identified those opportunities. And then also a note, in the final version, you will see that the strategies are proposed in phases. And with some of these initial strategies, such as the ones I mentioned, beginning and then others building upon that. And so just as a reference for you, you'll see referred later throughout the document, short-term, medium-term, and long-term. And these are the years that it's generally referring to. And so I'll briefly go through the different strategies as we've talked about them before. But so with the first strategy, to work to attract innovative companies as well as creative companies, which will then help to foster economic growth, good jobs, and innovation and culture. And the 4 key industries based on are where growth is happening, where we already have growth and where we have a competitive advantage, are food technology, clean technology, robotics, and biomedical. The next is to support and reduce barriers and continue to streamline our processes so that some of the transformative development projects which are proposed to help them proceed, and when complete, they can help to bring, there's a lot of potential in these projects, such as at Bayfair or the Kaiser North site, to bring significant amounts of housing and jobs, which can have that type of transformational impact. Next is to work through, explore opportunities through financing districts, public-private partnerships, and other creative ways to help fund and maintain the infrastructure that the community needs, that the local economy needs, so that we can continue to support this and be clean and functional. Next as well, we've heard a lot from the community and from you looking to want to shop in town, want to have the stores that you want to go to, wanting to feel safe and clean. And so to start with a retail action strategy, as I talked about, and then work to really target and be proactive in our outreach on commercial incentives, and work to support them. And next, as I mentioned, working to connect the community with the training that they need for workforce, the businesses with the training that they need for employment, and then as well, look at how we can better spread this information through an outreach strategy, and as well reduce barriers through looking at childcare support and other barriers to employment that may be identified. Finally, looking at small business support and working to continue some of the relationships with service providers that have begun during the pandemic and continue to develop ways that they can really invest in the community and that their services can be known and utilized by San Leandro residents. And so on an annual basis, what we will look to do is start with how will we know whether this plan is succeeding? How will we track it? Not only will we look at the tasks that we are doing and the ways that we are controlling and implementing what we have set out, also look on an annual basis at how different economic measures are performing on an annual basis. And if they're, say if one area is not getting better, say property value or things like that, should we make adjustments to strategies? And so in our next phase, we'll be continuing to refine these economic indicators that we'll be tracking. And so next steps, we are here at the final hearing for the strategy. And this is not the end. We'll be coming back to you in the fall. Thank you very much. You have adopted economic development as a priority. And so we'll be coming back with the council priority work plan for economic development. And in that will include more details on specific timing, specific implementation steps, performance measures, as well as the different staffing and resources that may be needed for different tasks. And then also, which will then drive as we go into the next budget cycle, and looking at prioritizing the different tasks based on available funding. And so we look forward to continuing that discussion with you, and we'll be working with the different departments in the meantime to finalize that. And so with that, I just want to once again thank you all, thank the community, and our many partners. This was a great project. This is the first time we've done this detailed of an economic development strategy in many years. And so we appreciate the opportunity, and we really think it's a really ambitious and visionary and proactive plan. And so we have our work cut out for us, but we are excited. So with that, I'll recommend that the City Council adopt a resolution to approve the 2024 San Leandro Economic Development Strategy.
Okay, so thank you for your presentation, your recommendation. At this point in time, let's take clarifying questions. No commentary at this time, please. Then we'll go to hear from members of our public to see what input they have, and then that can guide the discussion that we in turn have during part 3 of that. So let's begin with questions from Councilmember Aguilar.
Thank you, Mayor Gonzalez. Thank you, Katie, for this robust presentation. With regards to tourism, are we working with any organization, or do we plan to work with any organization to address tourism in San Leandro?
Yes, so in the we do have a strategy to do an assessment of hotel opportunities in the community, and then based on that do outreach. And so I certainly we continue to be interested in that, and I think some of the changes that are going on right in our vicinity around the airport continue to bring that to our focus. Yeah.
And then with regards to short-term solutions, I get numerous phone calls from various consultants who are working with companies who are trying to build in San Leandro or build their business with regards to our permitting process and the amounts of delays and the red tape that they have to go through. What are we doing to work through that to help streamline that process?
Yeah, thank you. The community development department has kicked off a permit process evaluation project. And so work has already begun. The different departments and divisions that work in permitting, so that includes community development, building, planning, as well as environmental services and engineering, and mapping and looking at ways that we can improve that process.
Wonderful. And with regards to TOT tax, I know there's a missed opportunity with building hotels in San Leandro. So what is our strategy? I think, we're trying to partner. There's an RFP for Kaiser. Is there anything promising? I know we had, and we're delayed with Monarch Bay, with CalCoast, and we're trying to figure out what's going on with Kaiser. What's the strategy behind that? And what do we see as a timeline to bring in some sort of hotel so that we can start capitalizing in a sense of TOT tax?
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's a couple different opportunities in the community for large development and for hotels. I think as a next step in the process, we're going to be evaluating that, and we stand ready to respond to interests, as well as we'll be developing some more proactive approaches as well.
Wonderful. And with regards to our rebranding of the city, what does that process look like? And are we going to go out and conduct an RFP to rebrand, logos, street name, street nameplate changes, and what have you?
I'd say the scope of that is to be finalized, and it's so that's a larger discussion that we'll have at an interdepartmental level and would come back to you before initiating that. It can take a variety of forms. I'd say, as we've talked about to date, just as I mentioned, most importantly, looking at less about, before looking at our branding imagery, starting with what the vision or impressions are behind that. So the information. And so what and where we'll do with the imagery is to be determined. But as conceptualized, the first step, like I said, is what's called a brand assessment. So seeing, really taking stock of that, and then from that information, then proceeding.
Wonderful. And my last question is, what are we doing to attract businesses here in San Leandro? And also actually too, we have approved housing with Maximus and Bridge Housing. Those are all also missed opportunity for, adding taxpayer-based money to our city. So if you could answer those two questions, then I'm done.
So I'll start with the first part. I may have you clarify the second part. So I believe the question is, what are we doing to attract businesses? And so, part of, how about I go through the strategy? We already do a lot of work through marketing and storytelling and relationship building, and providing good service. But what we're excited to do through this strategy is develop what we're calling an innovation action strategy, which the idea there is to really have a more proactive step by, laying out our work plan for who and how to approach as far as attracting those types of industries, and the same thing on the retail side as well. Doing some analysis and confirming, where are our best bets and what that align with what our goals, what our community wants to see. So. Oh, and the second part was related to attracting housing or supporting housing.
Supporting housing. I know we as a council, we approved various projects with regards to economic development and housing. Where are we at in that timeline with filling those gaps? And I know housing costs are on the rise.
Yeah. So from that perspective, and Janelle mentioned some of it when she talked about the pro-housing designation. So, first and foremost, looking at impacting what we can control as a city. And so a number of actions have already been taken to reduce barriers and make it more feasible to build the housing, and really, and you all have been approving housing. And so, we'll continue to look into ways. I think there's some macroeconomic things going on that we can't control. However, you did recently have come before you an extension of the approvals to make sure that if projects were delayed due to construction costs, high interest rates, that they could continue when things improve. And so that has been the focus on related to housing.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Councilmember Bowen, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Katie. Could you speak a little bit to the continued engagement with the community stakeholders? Clearly, so much of what is in the strategy, which I am such a big fan of, it really comes from the community and all the different stakeholders. And in terms of phasing out the work with them?
Yeah, and so, and I was debating whether to go back to the slides, but I can if you'd like. But first, I'll take a stab verbally. So I think two of the most important ways are related to small business support and workforce development. And for both of those, so for small business support, some of the things that we've identified is continuing to work with service providers that try to, that do work very closely with the community, such as Renaissance Entrepreneurship Center, who we're already working with, but also continuing to deepen relationships with as things such as the Chinatown Chamber and other organizations that provide, have relationships. So going to where people are. And so continuing and improving, going to community events, doing outreach in language. And so I think we have, I'd love to find new ways to do that. Those are some of the ways that we know so far. But I think a lot, yeah. So really identifying it and being thoughtful about our outreach.
Fantastic. And I would encourage you and to continue to do that work because I think it's critical and really is reflective of the diversity of our community. I love how specific some of the action items are and how they're directly tied to the strategies, and the strategies are tied to the goals and the vision. Is there a plan to be able to highlight that and the progress of it as you continue with that work, especially as an outreach tool for the community, understanding that this is a work in progress and some of these things are done now and other things are done in 10, 12 years. But if that could be more present and available to the community, we could all be a part of that process.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I know as a council priority, we'll be coming back with work plan updates. And I do regularly speak to business groups and community groups and things like that. But further sharing the story with the community, I welcome ideas and connections that the council has to do that. Always happy to do that.
Great. And then the last thing I wanted to ask about is thinking about, obviously promoting economic development, but also being incredibly intentional about it. And I think one of the amazing things in San Leandro is the types of businesses, and specifically the people that run the businesses are pretty phenomenal. And is there an effort, or is it part of any of the strategies to help our businesses, whether they're large or small, be really responsible, effectual, community-driven partners in the city? I think about Tarani or Ghirardelli, Callan's, other ones that are so impactful in the community. But how do we as a city continue to support those businesses and promote them so that others also want to behave in the same manner?
I think that's a really great point. And as you mentioned, something that we can encourage, we can't always control, but which is why so I think one way is we've outlined in a number of programs to help businesses. And I think building in those additional kind of B Corp type community type information that once we get the relationship, once we get the touch, we can help we try to get them involved in part of the conversation more long-term. And so that's one way that we do it, always open to additional ideas. But as I mentioned, sometimes our first interaction is with a business when they have a really urgent need. And so sometimes that's they're just really kind of day to day. But if we can help them get beyond that, then we can help them to be more holistic and make those types of improvements.
And I would say too, beyond just community giving back, thinking about some of our goals with workforce development. Obviously being able to pay not just living wage, but having benefits. You know, when businesses come, if that could be part of the strategy to share what our goals are as a city, to just promote that. Thank you so much, Katie.
Let's go to Vice Mayor, please.
Thank you for the presentation. A few questions. One is I heard a mention of safety. And without safety and businesses or people feeling safe, I don't think we're going to grow at all. Can you elaborate a bit more on how we're going to accomplish that in the near term, for example, Bayfair?
Yeah, and so to start, one of the most immediate ways is to continue a security grant and security assessment programs for small businesses to help them assess and make improvements. And we have already done a round of that and really gotten really great response and appreciation from the businesses. And so, but for the larger centers such as Bayfair, what we are already doing and will continue to enhance is really interdepartmental support and coordination. And so at the Bayfair example, police are already collaborating with BART, with Union Pacific, the property owners, other stakeholders there. And so working on that from that public safety perspective, also working to continue to support daytime population in the area and to continue to have quality property management and things like that. Another example is at the Greenhouse Marketplace, where you all have supported a pilot project for safety ambassadors. And so that will be getting started in some months. And so through that, looking to partner with the property owner to provide some of that additional day-to-day quality of life support for individuals in the area and for the business owners and for the visitors. Those are.
Okay. And a related question, just looking at our area, our town, like comparing to Alameda, and this is a question from my son today. We were at South Shore Alameda and he was asking, Dad, why is it feel safer here at South Shore than at Bayfair? I mean, it's hard to answer that question. Why? Why should they feel safer? People feel safer at South Shore than Bayfair. Do you do any analysis comparing to our neighbors on what they're doing to accomplish people feeling safe shoppings in Trader Joe's and other companies like that coming in?
Yeah, so disclaimer is that that's not my area of expertise. So, I think from a business perspective, as we've talked about looking at, that, kind of broken window theory or things like that, where you're trying to support quality aesthetics, maintenance and things like that, that will help with the appearance and thinking about quality and pride and ownership. And so the city is tackling that in a variety of manners, from code enforcement to our incentives. And then I'd say, I think our retail action strategy, I think that's a good question to really hone in on through that. We are already working with retailers on a case-by-case basis to provide information to help right-size their impressions if they're wrong, to help attract them to come here.
Another safety kind of related question. We've seen a lot of kids on bikes, gangs of kids on bikes riding through town, again, Bayfair in particular. Do we have any plans to engage youth, take them off the streets and engage them in economic development, internships, the underserved in our area, even adjacent to us in Ashland area, to take care of the safety, plus give them a future and help build our city? Any youth work?
Yeah, so looking at the workforce development section, and so through that, there are various partners or workforce service providers, such as the Ashland Reach Center or things like that, and our own Boys and Girls Club that work with youth, help provide some job training services. And so looking at incorporating them in the larger conversations about workforce with the community colleges and other workforce service providers. And then I think as well, what'll be important is once the programs are put to, if programs are new or improved, making sure that they actually make it to, so that the youth know about them. And so through that as well, we want to work better on, work on communication strategies and marketing strategies for these opportunities.
My final question, on page 35 in your booklet, there's a very nice map that shows your focus areas. And I think I heard a little bit of this, and I think Councilmember Aguilar mentioned this too, entertainment district and Doolittle Drive right next to the airport. And this was maybe 4 years ago, one of the people that was interviewing for the city manager position brought up that concept, that idea, developing Doolittle to bring in the airport traffic and divert them to our marina. Are we looking at that Doolittle Drive adjacent to the airport and making an entertainment district there?
I think that that's something that definitely we can look at as we do a hotel feasibility analysis and looking at that. Yeah, we can look at that.
Thank you.
At this point in time, we'll go to Councilmember Azevedo, please.
Thank you, Katie, for your presentation. I have a question regarding Bayfair. Is the economic development team recommending any types of businesses for Bayfair? The reason why I asked that, because I met with some of the owners and I let them know that I'd like to see something in there for families, either a bowling alley or skating ring. And one of the owners told me, I'm a former hockey player. I love skating rings. So if we had something sponsored by Disney or Pixar or Marvel, because in this economic development plan, I don't see anything for families, family businesses. So I'd like to see something for families.
Yeah, and I didn't really talk too much about it today, but in the section that talks about retail, as you're saying right now, and as we've heard consistently throughout this process, is right, wanting to find activities for youth, for families, for physical activity. We call that in the retail world, they call that experiential. And so that is an area that is also growing for space. And so it's a good match. And so through the development of this retail action strategy, right, looking at what do these type of users want, how can we help attract them? It is already on the radar at Bayfair, as you just mentioned. And for Bayfair in particular, there's an overarching strategy and plan for that, and it does permit that, and as well as employment uses, research and development, but also it has the benefits of large size, parking, central accessibility, all things that are attractive for these experiential uses too.
Yeah, but they did express concern about safety, because safety is a concern at Bayfair. So eventually I'd like to see the safety ambassador program expanded to Bayfair, to make our police officers more efficient. So I think, and they are, and Union Pacific and BART is working with Bayfair, because we keep on having to clean up the railroad tracks. We've had issues at the railroad tracks, and yeah, so we've been working with them. Okay, thank you.
Seeing no more questions at this point in time, we'll go to public comment on this item.
Mr. Mayor, there's no public comment online, and I have 2 in person.
Let's come in person.
Robert Rayburn. And now I have 1 hand up online.
Good evening, Mayor Gonzalez, council members. My name is Robert Rayburn. I'm the elected BART director for District 4, which encompasses San Leandro. I appreciate Katie Bowman's presentation tonight, and I thank all of you for conducting this study and community workshops with strategic economics. It was exciting for me to read and review the strategy. It's truly transformational, and see the top focus areas include both BART stations in San Leandro, the downtown mixed-use developments, and the Bayfair transit-oriented development and innovation node. I stand before you today as an enthusiastic partner With a fleet of late model electric trains, BART has the capacity to assist San Leandro's economic growth. Each San Leandro station is served by 3 BART lines that together offer high frequency, show up and go service, we call it. That's ideal for transit-oriented development. It's ideal for the future. BART's Blue Line, well, Katie mentioned that you're in the middle of everything. You're not quite a San Francisco, you're not a Gerlach, Nevada either. But BART's Blue Line connects San Leandro to the Tri-Valley area with San Francisco. The Green Line travels from Santa Clara County to San Francisco, and the Orange Line also runs from Santa Clara County, but continues through the East Bay to Oakland, Berkeley, and Richmond. Furthermore, BART's Safe and Clean plan includes a project to replace every single BART's fare gate,
Thank you. Your time is.
all next generation fare gates by the end of 2025. I encourage you to adopt the strategic development plan. Thank you.
Ed Hernandez.
Good evening, Council. Ed Hernandez here. I'm here to speak about small businesses and supporting them as they are the heart of our community. Unfortunately, operating a small business in our community has been expensive and difficult. Knowing across the street, you've been seeing somebody here who's been a lifelong and multi-generational business. Rudy Gonzalez's meat market has been hit about 4 times, broken windows, and now has been cited over $4,000. Market, restaurants, retail stores across have been broken into often multiple times, causing this damage and been stolen. Let's help small businesses. Let's focus on small businesses. Let them stay and thrive in their community. As a small business owner, we must come together and be advocates for them so they can stay in our community. Here's some of the things we need to do together. Bring our police department back to full strength. We need to get them back to where they need to be so we can protect not only residents, but small businesses. Establish a grant program to help them. Help those businesses hurt by crime, at least $2,000, $4,000 for all those windows that are being broken down to. San Francisco has a program like that. And let's also consider freezing the business license tax for small businesses. They've gone up over 13% in the last 3 to 4 years, making it more expensive to run a business in San Leandro. You know, we all benefit. We all benefit when we support small businesses. They create jobs, economic development, and opportunities for hardworking families here in San Leandro. That tax revenue that we also need is also important. So let's make sure we can help small businesses so they can invest back in their community and do it together. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I have one more public comment in person. Brandon Braun.
Actually was not planning on speaking tonight, but then hearing this topic, it's actually something I've been working on with the group. My son got into skateboarding recently, has been working with a group that was within San Leandro. They've recently left, but the group of them are looking to come back to San Leandro. They want to open up a business here. It is centralized to where all of their customers are. It allowed for family orientation. Right now, they are struggling to find location here. One of those is safety. One of the first locations that we looked at unfortunately had a deceased dog in the front of it along with a bloody shoe. That deterred them from looking at that location. The next location that we looked at was Speedway at Bayfair, and went and looked at it today. And unfortunately, I know that if they were with me there today, they would have been deterred as well, as within 50 feet from where I had parked, there was 3 people drug use right there in front of the location. This is a concern, but they are still driving because they find San Leandro as a centralized location for them and their business that hits on all the points that they were talking about before. Video production for the youth, bringing teens in to help nurture them and garnish generational growth in their jobs in the future. This is a huge opportunity for our families and our youth, and I'm very much looking forward to how this plan progresses forward and how we increase the safety for our families and youth. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, we will now go online. Emily, you may unmute yourself.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. This is Emily Grego with the President and CEO of the San Leandro Chamber of Commerce. So I am here today to just comment on a couple of things. I want to say that, we have shared with economic development the past two surveys that we have put out to our membership. And I'm happy to see that there is some of that feedback is reflected in this plan. Of course, we're always very concerned about the permitting process, so we're always going to be following that. I also want to just kind of say a little bit about the marina. Saying that it's delayed in its development is putting it lightly. So I and the Chamber of Commerce, we want to strongly advocate to focus on where the energy and seriousness is. And right now that is the Bayfair area with the new owners of the Bayfair Mall. So we just really hope that the TOD plan for that area starts to come to fruition and that there is some momentum there. One of the things that is going to make people feel safe in San Leandro to go shopping and to have a better quality of life is sustained economic prosperity. And that is dependent on a vibrant business climate. So if you go shopping in Alameda, you see that because that business climate has been working. You go to Livermore, you see that because they have been focused on that. It is imperative that the city council put as its top priority economic development. That is what is going to get this city moving. That is what is going to bring tax dollars in. That is what's going to make people feel safe to go shopping, to spend their money, to go to the grocery store. So think about economic development every single time you wake up in the morning, city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, there is no more public comment.
So I will close public comment and come back to council members for discussion. Begin with Councilmember Aguilar.
Thank you, Mayor Gonzalez. Wendell Pierce had said the social justice movement of the 21st century is economic development. And so this is something that, I wholeheartedly support. I support this plan. I also support making sure that we invest in the community, but also preserve the community, bring more housing, bring more businesses, but also tourism and hotels. That's where we'll make some of, the transit-oriented tax money. I think, as somebody who advocates for the LGBTQ community, we just had our first Pride here in San Leandro in July. And so this is something that I'm looking forward to continuing on annually and working together with our special district and Morgan McRose and our council here in the city to make sure that we're promoting safety. But this is a place where a lot of our people in that community feel safe. And with us raising the pride flag, the transgender pride flag, conducting the resolutions in support of our community and our council, I think this is something that San Leandro as a destination place. It's one of the affordable cities in the Bay Area, and we need to make sure we're providing eateries and places for folks to shop, where folks can live, work, and play. And I think this strategy is fantastic. It's been long overdue, and is something that it's going to take time. It doesn't happen overnight, but I think looking at the quick fixes as to what we can do is to help streamline and shorten our permitting process and eliminate that red tape. Make sure that we're doing the job correctly, but make sure that we're getting businesses on the fast track to opening up, because that's the biggest complaint that I hear. A lot of phone calls that I get from consultants who are working for the corporations, and then I have to make phone calls to figure out what's going on. So that's something that we can do to easily strategize, and then just work with our business partners and our developers, and make sure that we're also asking for community benefits to help donate monies to our parks, towards our unfunded infrastructures, to help pave our streets and what have you. This is a social justice movement that we need to focus on, is economic development, and I would be happy to move this item.
Councilmember Bowen, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Katie, thank you so much for your work on this and the entire team. But I I have, being out in the community, I always chuckle because people say, I work with Katie, and it's so nice to work with her, and she's such a great advocate for the city, and people really are excited about it, and it's because of their engagement with you and the team, and that speaks volumes. I also want to thank the council for, adding this to economic development to our priorities, because it really is foundational to the work that we're trying to do. I just very recently with the mayor was at Electrify Expo in Alameda, and I mean there was a lot of conversation about. I keep hearing things about San Leandro, like like I'm really interested. Like next year I want to go there, and they're talking about big projects and really interesting projects. And the words that you've used often today are proactive, which I love, right? Innovative, creative, forward thinking. And I want to emphasize too, we talk about other communities, we compare ourselves to other communities, but I think the thing that's going to be really special and will make us successful is we build something towards a uniquely San Leandro business environment. And that's why people love it here. I think the secret is now out. And it's really, about how do we really sustain this and build that in a way that's going to work for us and our community. I want to speak a little bit to what people have been talking about with family and youth, because that's my jam. That's what I want to advocate for constantly, and I want to center, and I really appreciate that. And we speak a little bit about Bayfair, and as an entrepreneur in San Leandro and started a nonprofit, I want to acknowledge too that there's different types of businesses and stakeholders of the community that are part of the business community, that are also adding things to the community, and the more that we can engage and proactively create safe spaces and understand some of the issues that have been raised and say, this is the barrier, then we, I think, can be really successful. I was in Bayfair, and the reason I was there because I wanted families to come to Bayfair. I wanted people to see families to be in places, especially mothers, to be in places where money was being spent, because we hold the purse, right? Like we are significant spenders. And even now, there at Bayfair is every middle school robotics team that is now practicing in the Bayfair space, and I really appreciate the developers for working with the team. But that is just one specific thing that says we want families to be there, we want kids to be there. We also have to make sure it's safe for them. So now that they're there, it's on us as an interdepartmental effort to be able to ensure that happens. But the more people are there, the more I can tell people, no, like my kid is practicing in robotics at Bayfair. I feel safe there, then other people will as well. So I think that effort towards outreach, I can't wait to actually have this available to carry around and be able to evangelize. I think it is fantastic. We're speaking about BART, and, with the East Bay, Green Bay coming in and all of the development that we have, I think that I just want to commend the city for being forward thinking and building this out, so that when other things are happening, we'll be ready for it. So I just really, just really excited for this, and I really appreciate the work, and I'll second the recommendation.
At this point in time, we'll go to Councilmember Blue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Captain Obvious here. Economic development is community development. It's in community development, but it really is development for our community. It's also neighborhood development. It's also human development. I think one underdeveloped strategy I think that we could really work on if we were looking at one area would be the airport. Not just in terms of tourism and hotels, but in terms of things like anything but parking, right? Anything that activates that west end. We're so close to that airport, and I know that people have choices when they come here, and San Leandro would definitely be a viable option for them if we had some sort of hotels and restaurants, et cetera. I think one of the things that we always look at, and I know that in your world, Katie, thank you for the presentation, by the way. I know that the people that are economic development managers always talk about multiple use or dual use. Single use doesn't work. Bowling alleys are not valid. They're not going to fly. They don't make enough money to sustain themselves. They're like swimming pools. It's not an accident cities run swimming pools. They don't make any money. They lose money. So bowling alley, same thing if it's single focus, but a bowling alley that also is like a Topgolf, a bowling alley with a meeting space, with a party space, with a bar, with a restaurant, with a whatever, is quite a different story. Same thing with ice skating rinks in I want to say San Mateo, but I think it's Foster City. There's an ice skating rink. That thing is used until 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, not just by ice skaters, but by hockey teams and other things. So anything that's dual use, I think, has a better chance. You go out to Livermore, Dublin, they have these party places where there's these, scary monster things for kids. And we've all been there, right? Or the one that you go out and you jump up and down on the trampoline and dive into whatever. They're multi-use. There's many reasons for families to go there. So I think when we're talking about a specific business or specific strategy, I think we need to encourage that. I also think that we need to be more focused and more what I want to say, more proactive is not the more intentional around art, public art. One of my colleagues said, what's the benefit from people that come here, not just parks, but make them pay to the arts fund. And I think they want to. We've done that in the past. We've had really good success with some of the recent economic development strategy businesses that came to town with that. I do want to make a comment about permitting. I've had in the last year 4 complaints about permitting taking too long. And every time I tracked it down, it was because the contractor wasn't coming to the city and paying the permitting fee. It wasn't the builder, and it wasn't the person that owned the home. It was the contractor not wanting to commit or wait as long as they could or whatever. I know I've also had conversations with people like Tarani, the owner, and other people, businesses in the community that when they partnered with economic development, it was smooth sailing. I mean, it was expedited. They didn't have any issues. If they had a hiccup, they called you or they called Des or they called someone else in the economic development. And within 4 hours, their question was answered and they were getting some service. So I think it's how intentional people are about what they want to do and also the accountability on the part of third-party contractors that maybe aren't always telling their clients the 100% truth about what's going on at the permitting counter. And I don't know if it's money or I don't know if they just don't want to come down here or what, but I know we're online now. It's a little bit easier and there is accountability. So I want to be really careful about that narrative because every time I've tracked it down, it's been unfounded. And with timestamps, date and timestamps about when things didn't occur, et cetera. And the last thing is I noticed that we have this nice packet and you have a nice slide presentation. And I wonder in the economic development world, where I come from in a lot of nonprofit stuff, you have a 30-second elevator speech to tell your story. Do we have a 1-page, 2-page, nice, fancy, this is San Leandro or why you should come to San Leandro or, here's a whole, like a montage of who, or collage of who we are and why we're exciting for whatever. Maybe we have 4 of them. Maybe we have one for certain types of businesses and one for service businesses and one for nonprofits but I think that would be really helpful. And I also think it would be really helpful for the council and others who represent the city to have those talking points like we get when things are a little bit, dicey or whatever. We're very clear on what our talking points can be. So as we move forward with this development strategy, that would be really helpful for me as a policymaker is to have that elevator speech down. I think I can answer a lot of questions about San Leandro, but if we're all given kind of what the target is and how we want to get there in a very simplified form, not that you need more work, Katie, you or your staff, but I think that might be effective for us being able to echo the hard work that you're doing and maybe create a little bit even more opportunity. And thank you, Mayor, for your efforts recently to talk to people, especially in the commercial districts, commercial businesses about why San Leandro and the fact that, our image is changing. We did have a hiccup for a couple of years, but we're back on track. Appreciate that. Those are my comments.
Councilmember Viveros Walton, please.
Thank you, Katie, and your team for all of your work to get us to this point. Just wanted to kind of underline the various comments around the arts. And I think we can all agree that that is a really important component and appreciate it being weaved in throughout the plan, some kind of short-term things, some place-based work. Really appreciate that. I also wanted to thank you for including a lot of our feedback that we gave, was it 2 months ago, 2 months ago. Really appreciate, I could see it, see the plan updated. And so thank you, all of the comments around childcare, all of the comments around equity and ensuring that there's distribution of what we anticipate is going to be a really positive, both economic, but just in community capacity, that it is evenly distributed and that folks have equal access. Just a couple of things that I've been kind of, as I've, now that I wear this hat, there was a really interesting idea around that I've been seeing in some cities in using religious spaces that are kind of empty throughout the week, have fantastic acoustics, have huge empty layouts. I know that some churches are having, or some, not just churches, but some religious facilities are having financial issues in terms of, people attending like the actual service. But I wonder, if there is an inventory of these, cultural spaces that just happen to also be religious, that can also be community gathering spaces, like a pop-up sort of space. And along those lines, I don't know, and that this has happened. I know that Marina Park has, a lot of challenges, but I was, thinking about some of it's like having like a beer garden pop-up during the summer. I know that the city did a concert series, one concert or two concerts that was really, really well attended. The weather really cooperated. And I think a lot of friends actually came from across the East Bay to go to that because it's kid friendly and also adults like going there. And then I'm also thinking about all of the other departments, and I think Councilmember Baloo alluded to this. Some of these kind of complementary things that or departments or amenities that we offer that have a huge impact, like our recreation and our parks. Like Marina Park, Siempre Verde, and some of the other parks that folks go to celebrate holidays. I think, how does, and this is kind of a question, not a comment, is how is this plan kind of socialized amongst the departments? Like, because I see really every department, and many of my colleagues here alluded to this, that it's can't just live in your economic development staff. P.S. We're recruiting for an economic development position, so please apply. How does that work, right? In terms of city collaboration across the department?
Great point. Right. So good economic development is interdepartmental. It's all of us contributing. It's all of us working to provide service to both the community and the businesses that'll help them succeed. And to that end, so the strategy that you have right here already has input and meetings from the different departments coming into it. And then as we finalize the council work plan, we'll be meeting again and doing that as well. So, and as you look further into the end of this strategy with the specific steps, as you mentioned, you'll see different departments have leads on different steps. And so, and I think, so that'll be the first step. And then as we continue through, I think the kind of continuing to support brand and marketing and thinking so that we're all, ideally consistent across departments, which we already are, but continuing to reinforce that and making sure, right, we know how great our parks are and we share that, but how do we connect the dots online and other places like that so that can know.
Thank you. Thank you for all of your work. Thank you so much. I'm really, really excited.
Coming back to Vice Mayor Simon.
Beautiful job. This is a great brochure. I love it. Just incredible looking. Looks good, great plan. My concern is where we are right now today. And the reality is, like the gentleman said there with the sunglasses, bringing his family, doesn't look like this brochure. There might be a few pictures, but 90%, unfortunately, scares people away. Businesses, it just scares people. So we got to get rid of that fear factor. We have to make it safer. And I'm just trying to keep it real and not sugarcoat. I'm trying not to degrade our city, but the reality is people are scared to come here. And we have to break that. We have to. Otherwise, we're not going to get out of this. And we just have to. This is the way it is. And we're going to get better. And I'm what we're all focused on doing that and getting there and admitting where we are. And we have a lot of work to do. And I appreciate you making this goal, this plan for us to get there. I'm also very appreciative of Robert Rayburn coming from BART. Thank you very much. Huge fan of BART, and I love, here we go, right on the front page is the BART train. And BART is integral to our city. And we are very fortunate to have 2 stations. I think San Leandro BART is probably in better condition than Bayfair. And my son took BART from Berkeley to Bayfair this past weekend, and we'll talk maybe afterwards, have some concerns about the condition and the safety. But I grew up in Oakland near Rockridge BART, absolutely beautiful BART station where it's so beautiful that people have concerts out front. I mean, I've heard them playing musical instruments right out front. It's that beautiful. Redwood trees, very mature trees. So I would love to see our BART stations become like Rockridge BART, where people can congregate, have music, and just be a relaxing place, not just wait for a bus. So I'm looking forward to that. Also with BART, maybe we can advertise our city, wrapping our, I think you used to wrap trains in the old days. I don't know if you still do it. Not the new ones. Okay, well, that's out. But then the last BART one is the abandoned rail line. If we can partner with BART and the railroad, because that is an eyesore. Not only is it an eyesore, it's a safety issue, everything under the sun. I know it's been passed over for the Greenway. Now they're going East 14th Street, but I don't want us to give up on that Greenway beneath the BART tracks. We have to keep pushing and do not take no for an answer. We have to make that work. So I'd love to work with BART and all our staff. We have to make that happen because it connects, as we know, Oakland, it connects Ashland, it connects all of us together, and we are not isolated. And let's see. So the last, I'll just hit the safety again. So happy we got our ambassadors at the Greenhouse. I support Councilmember Azevedo on bringing it to Bayfair. Another item, actually, Councilmember Azevedo brought this up years ago, was private security. And this is not to replace our police force, it's to augment our police force until we get fully staffed up. And hotspots like Bayfair, I think we have to do something different because Bayfair is suffering. Took my family to the movies about 2 weeks ago, 2:00 in the afternoon, open drug dealing happening, right in the open, like it was just normal. I couldn't believe it. My mom sees this, my kid sees this, and then here we go again. Why doesn't Alameda have this? So we have to do something. We have to admit what's happening, not look the other way, tell it like it is, and let's fix it. And lastly, again, I'll say thank you, Katie. You're doing an awesome job and your whole department. Thank you.
At this point in time, we'll go to Councilmember Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make this quick. I just get really excited. I had it in big, bold letters and I forgot, and Councilmember Veras Walton brought it up, but I just really want to really uplift the fact that you took some of that additional feedback and specifically childcare, which is very near and dear to my heart, and the fact that in all 50 states in this country, costs more to send your kids to childcare than it does for rent in the state. And so it is a very real barrier. And I wanted to bring that up again to highlight ways in which we can share our story about how innovative we are. As a city, we're saying this is a priority and this is a part of the conversation that is part of economic development, that is part of getting people back into the workforce, that is part about caring for everybody in this community. And that's something that we can say that's how we're different and special, and we're really building it for our community because there are a lot of young families. I have 3 kids in the schools. We do a lot of stuff in the city. I walk down to the downtown almost every day. We buy too much boba. We frequent too many of those shops down there. And I want to bring families out more. I want to show other people that there's work to be done, but we also have to take that first step ourselves. And so I just really want to uplift that. And then just as Councilmember Veras Walton was workshopping a little bit, the idea of doing some family-friendly pop-ups so that if we do want to have skateboarding, maybe we don't have a place yet, but let's open up a temporary space and then make sure it is safe and say there is a community for it. I absolutely know there's a community for it. We offer it at the middle school and it is one of the most popular ones. And so there are a lot of things that we're doing here. And so I want us to also remember that things are also going well as well. And so I just want to uplift that before I end.
Councilmember Aguilar, please.
Thank you, Mayor Gonzalez. I'll make this quick as well. I forgot to plug in. Thank you, Director Rayburn, for coming up and speaking on behalf of BART. It means so much with 2 stations and, us limiting height restrictions within the TOD zone and the BART location. We need to talk strategy and build up and do what they've done at the various stations. And I'm excited to see what's going on at West Oakland once they break ground for the Mandela Station Parkway, with the 4 different phases. It takes time, but I think, we need to continue talking to build housing where we can eliminate vehicles and have folks just utilize public transit. As somebody who, I used to ride BART every day, Monday through Friday, and utilize on the weekends. And I still use it to get into the city because it's an easier means of transportation rather than driving over the Bay Bridge when there's a lot of traffic. So, I'm a professional at taking public transportation, but also love, where you can go home, walk right off the station and go up to your building and have businesses in that location as well. So I'd like to put that plug in, Katie, with regards to economic development to, work with our partners, also AC Transit to make sure that we're advocating and trying to building in those spaces and redeveloping that area. Thank you.
So my council colleagues have covered almost everything. I do think there's a couple of things to bring up. The first one being that I talked to a number of businesses, a number of CEOs, a number of organizations, either developers, tenants, advocates, et cetera, in the commercial space. And I will tell you that the chatter is that San Leandro is a great place to go. And that there has really been a change in that dialogue from what I'm hearing, that people are talking about it actively. Councilmember Bowen talked about the meeting that we had in Alameda. That's just the latest in a series of conversations. So I think that we are doing some really good things, and we need to double down on the things that we are doing to keep driving that positive chatter about the city and to keep attracting businesses. I think that some of the significant investments that we have seen in Bayfair, for example, or Gate 510, the doubling of Tarani's facility in San Leandro, a doubling within the first 4 years of being here. I think they all portend the types of changes that are happening on the economic development front. And we need to uplift the positive chatter that's out there in the business community. Among the things that I've been kind of collecting notes from conversations with CEOs, they like that we're centrally located. They love the fact that we are big enough to have the types of services that big cities have, but that we are a small city and can be very responsive. So the stories that I've heard from CEOs are over and over, you guys are great to deal with. When I compare you to San Francisco, San Jose, Oakland, other big cities, I get so much more service here in your city, and I get it quickly. So I think that being able to tap into that community to take their ideas about why they are here, why they're expanding their businesses here, and use that, leverage that to attract other businesses to our community. And the third point that I'd emphasize, that I'm not quite sure exactly where it is in the strategy, fundamentally what the city of San Leandro needs is economic investment. It needs outsiders to come and say, this is the place that I want to go. And that comes from relationship development. And so I encourage that we are working proactively with the large private equity funds in the spaces that are strategically aligned, and the venture capital funds that are in the spaces that are strategically aligned, building those relationships and making sure that we're driving forward that vision of the city, combined with the talking points that Councilmember Blue and others have talked about, so that any of us, as we're meeting with people, can convey that image of our city. Administratively, I had 2 council members who talked about what they would do and what they would be interested in doing, but I'd like to be really precise in our language. And I would ask that just in the future, we let everybody speak and then we make a motion, because it just kind of creates the first button to push sort of dynamic. I know Councilmember Aguilar had indicated an interest in making a motion. Would you like to make a formal motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a formal motion to
What is that motion?
move this item. Move. Are we on this agenda? Sorry.
NA.
Item 10A, resolution to approve the 2024 San Leandro Economic Development Strategy.
That is
Motion.
That is perfect. I've got a motion from Councilmember Aguilar. I believe I have an interest in a second from Councilmember Bowen.
I will second that motion.
Okay, so I've got a motion by Councilmember Aguilar, second from Councilmember Bowen. Councilmember or Vice Mayor Simon, did you want to add to the discussion or you wanted to be involved in that movement?
One more addition, if I could add it.
Okay, go ahead.
My addition would be similar to the BART, another BART comment, and just accolades to like the MacArthur BART and building high again. And it's kind of a question for Katie, and it's going to sound different, but In-N-Out Burger, they're so successful in how they just build and build and build so efficiently. And I mean, this is massive scale BART stations in development, but if MacArthur BART is so successful with their towers and the shops, can we replicate? Do we have to go through all this full redesign and all these new details? Can we just say, well, we like that. Let's do that at Bayfair and do it.
Yeah, so I'd say, once again, that's, what the Bayfair plan tackles, but right, the Bayfair plan, I envisions similar things, but more unique to San Leandro, but right, so it does permit the higher building. It does permit the mixed use and those type of things. So the plan and the opportunities are there, based on analysis and feedback. There are some logistical challenges so some of the grants that you've seen come before you that we've that the Community Development Department has gotten for Bayfair is to help with some of that pre-planning that may be holding development back. So related to site layout, related to transportation, things like that. So yeah, I'm not the expert on all those details,
Just
but
trying not to reinvent the wheel. If we
Yeah.
see it working some other place, let's do it.
Okay, so with that, I will call the question.
All votes are in. Motion passes 7-0 unanimous.
So with that, let's move to item 10B. This is an action item to potentially adopt a resolution to accept a letter of intent to donate and authorize city manager to expend the donated funds in the amount of $5 million to aid in the replacement of the Cary Drive Haas Avenue pedestrian bridge. We have Public Works Director Sheila Marquises, there you are, coming forward to present on this item.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, staff, members of the public. My name is Sheila Marquises, Public Works Director, and I am pleased to present to you a brief presentation on our Cary Drive Haas Avenue pedestrian bridge. So a little bit about our bridge. It was constructed in 1973. It was over our San Leandro Creek behind Bancroft Middle School, my alma mater, and connected Haas Avenue and Cary Drive. It was about 110 feet long and 7 feet wide. And in the 2023 storms, a eucalyptus tree fell on the bridge and collapsed into the San Leandro Creek. And in an effort to demolish and remove the bridge from the creek, we had to coordinate and collaborate with several entities, including the County Flood Control District, the San Leandro Unified School District, and a private property owner to get access to the project site. We had to obtain regulatory permits from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, National Marine Fisheries, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the Water Control Board. And also had to coordinate with the East Bay Municipal Utility District, East Bay Mud, because they control the flow of water in the creek from the dam. And also initiated an application to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, for any possible reimbursement of the work. And also part of our team, we had to secure the services of our consultant, an environmental consultant, Terraphase Engineering, and our demolition contractor, McGuire and Hester. So with the appropriate applications and permits and the right contractors in our team, we were able to remove the bridge on August 2nd, 2024. And here are some photos of that work. And here are next steps. So with the bridge removed, we are grading the site, adding hydro seed to initiate more vegetation growth, cleaning out a few utilities and manholes, and install the fencing. We hope to finish up in the next week or so for the work. Here's a quick look of those timelines of events that I just spoke about, starting from the bridge collapse on March 21st, 2023, working on our permits throughout the year. We did get our permits in November, and that was pending a 10-day dry weather forecast, which we did not get. There were several atmospheric river events that pushed or delayed the start of the work, and then found ourselves in the middle of the trout season in the creek, which further delayed our work to about the summertime. We're fortunate enough to have someone in our community, an anonymous donor, who we are referring to as the Cary Drive Haas Pedestrian Bridge Association, who has stepped forward to provide us some donation to rebuild our bridge. The funds are to be used only for the reconstruction of the bridge. Time is of the essence, and so we're looking to keep the bridge pretty simple to what it was before, which is steel girder bridge with a concrete deck. And with the following disbursement schedule, starting with tonight, with the council acceptance of the letter of intent to donate, would be $1.5 million. And then the next disbursement would be $500,000 right before we are advertising for construction bidding, and then $3 million prior to the construction contract. And this is a quick look of what our accelerated project timeline with an issued request for proposals, which we issued last month. Those proposals are due this Friday. And with the design consultant contract, which we hope to award next month, we go straight into design of this bridge. Assuming we get the same coordination, collaboration with those same agencies that we worked with, the earliest we could start construction would be in the summer of 2026. Every construction season for this area will always be in the summertime. And so tonight, we are asking City Council to adopt this resolution to accept the letter of intent and authorize the city manager to execute all documents and appropriate the funds.
At this point in time, we will take questions, and we'll begin with Councilmember Azevedo.
Yes, I'm really excited about this because I know people that live on both sides of the bridge, and it's been causing a big inconvenience for people walking their kids to school. Does the $5 million, do we forecast that it's going to cover the whole cost of the bridge and everything?
We hope that it will cover the total cost of the bridge. We do have the contingencies built in the $5 million. The sooner we go into construction, the lower the cost it will be. The longer we wait, the material costs tend to go up.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor, please.
Yeah, how will the bridge be built differently to prevent it from collapsing again?
The bridge collapsed due to the tree falling onto the bridge. Without the tree falling on the bridge, we would expect it to still be in place today. We are working with the school district to make sure if there's any trees that need to be trimmed in the area for any future threats or future wind. But the bridge as designed was intended to last a very long time. It's been in its place for about 50 years, and without any other threats, we expected it to last much longer. The new bridge will be built to new codes and standards. Eucalyptus tree.
Yeah, those are terrible trees. Their bulbs are like this big. Trees this big, it's bad. Yeah, Janelle and I, we've been talking about eucalyptus trees. So yeah, I look forward to more eucalyptus trees being taken out and replanted with stronger, safer trees. Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, I'll ask one quick question. You talked about cooperation with other agencies and assuming the same speed. The earliest we could assume is summer of 2026. My question is, but what would speed up that interaction with other agencies?
So at this point, those agencies are aware that we had a bridge collapse, and they're aware that there could be action to rebuild the bridge. This is a pedestrian bridge behind a school. And so they're aware that there is interest to rebuild the bridge. So as soon as we get the council action that we are accepting these funds and that we have direction to move forward, we will reach out to those agencies right away to let them know that a design team is forming and that applications will be in place pretty soon.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, I'll go to public comment on this item.
Mr. Mayor, we have one public comment in person and no hands up online.
Okay, let's come in person.
Okay, Jennifer Hess.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Heath, and I am the president of the Estudio Estates Neighborhood Association. I'm here to publicly express our gratitude to the anonymous donor who is making the replacement of the Carey Haas pedestrian bridge a possibility. The new bridge will restore the link between our neighborhood on both sides of San Leandro Creek. This is critically important to the pedestrians and residents, as well as the school children, allowing them to ride and walk their bikes to school while avoiding traffic on Estudio and Big. We deeply appreciate their investment in our community, and we appreciate your help. We also want to take this opportunity to thank Director of Public Works Sheila Martinez for the work she's already done to make this possible, and for the future work to replace it. Once again, thank you for your support of our neighborhood's residents, especially our children, and to the donor, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, there is no more public comment.
Okay, so I will close public comment and go to Councilmember Baloo.
Mr. Mayor, this is not my district, so I wasn't going to make the motion, but I wanted to get in line to second it.
Okay. So is there, I can't tell if you're lining up for motions or if people would like to offer a comment. But I'm going to go to Councilmember Bowen next.
I do have a comment. I just want to acknowledge Sheila and all the work that you have been doing forever to help make this happen. I am not kidding when I say I've had hundreds of conversations about this bridge, because it could be literally anything else. And at the end they say, so just wondering about that bridge. And so I know how hard it's been, how complicated it's been, and you've been so phenomenal at updating me so that I can update the community. And this is a labor of love, and clearly it's a beloved bridge. And I know that there are a lot of other people that have been working really hard to make sure that this can be rebuilt. So just so much gratitude for that. I also want to acknowledge in that timeline, I chuckled at the different reasons why the timeline sort of got stalled. I think there was a drought out there at one point, and then the rains and all of the things. But it's such a good example for us, and certainly a learning for me as a new council member and for the community to recognize just how things happen. And to the point about the mayor's comment, there is absolutely room to grow in terms of trying to speed things up. And there are also just a lot of things that happen. And I know your team is not the biggest, and you have also only 24 hours in a day. And so I just really want to uplift the work that you all are doing, but just gratitude for you and certainly for the donor as well. And again, the accelerated timeline is 2026. And so just to ground ourselves in that as well, but that's great. So thank you so much.
At this point in time, we'll go to Vice Mayor, please.
A nice job, Sheila. As I hear from the residents and our council members, very important, that bridge to bring the community together and keeping people off the streets and more riding their bikes and walking. So very happy this project is happening. My comment goes back to the root cause of what caused this problem in the first place, that eucalyptus tree. And I'm very concerned about eucalyptus trees in our city. And as I mentioned, Janelle and I have been talking about this. In the Manor Park, there's a massive eucalyptus tree that a senior resident lives right next to, and she is so frightened of this tree, frightened that it's going to collapse and kill her in her house. And I don't know what to tell her, except for we've looked at it, we're trimming it, but I personally seen these trees up in Chabot Park, massive trees with a tiny little bulb holding it. You know they're going to fall down. It's just when and where. So this took out a bridge, and I'm very concerned about them taking out houses and other things in our city, and hope that we as a city can take a more proactive approach to taking care of the problem before it happens. So I'm not sure what we can do for that, but I would like to support something to be more proactive with removing these eucalyptus trees and replacing them with stronger rooted trees.
Councilmember Viveros Walton.
Thank you. Just echoing Councilmember Bowen, I think it was day one of my appointment that I immediately got asked about this tree and about this tree. You're in my head, Vice Mayor. I keep saying tree. Just appreciation and gratitude to you and the team and to the community. I think, oftentimes we want to move at speed of community. And this was just one of those times where we had to kind of wait for nature at some points, and just appreciate the patience of the community. That bridge literally bridges two districts. And it's a bridge that is used so much. And I'm just excited to see it go forward. For those who are on social media, there's a great video that the city put out about ongoing progress there. So that's it. That's all I have to say. Just thank you, appreciation and gratitude to the community too for your patience. We know it's a priority, and that's it.
Okay, so I'd like to share a few thoughts on this, because obviously Public Works has played a significant role in the day-to-day logistics of speaking with government agencies and the like. But for this specific item, for the funding for the grant, a few months ago when I got the phone call, would the city be interested? Would the city be willing to take the money, right? Because there's always a question of, will you take the money? What might seem like a no-brainer to the public is actually a little bit of a complicated discussion and evaluation. And so my personal kudos that I want to highlight in this meeting on this specific item is I want to highlight the city manager's office, the city attorney's office, for the significant work around the legal process, for being able to respect the wishes of the association, for laying out a groundwork that was mutually acceptable, and for doing that pretty quickly, right? And just in a matter of months. And so I think that that's something should be commended. So thank you to your team for getting this done. Obviously, I want to acknowledge the donor. because it's easy to say that we're a city where kindness matters and innovation flourishes. But to actually reach into a pocket or multiple pockets to collect some money and to say, you know what, there is an issue here in the community that we can personally help address. And that's a very powerful thing. And we can choose to be negative and highlight, well, how can anyone have that much in terms of resources? But I like to think that it's actually a positive thing, that we are building confidence in our government to the point that people are willing to reach into their own pockets and self-tax and say, this is important to our community, and we're going to do it of our own free will. No one is forcing us to do this. And what's even more powerful is that it's an association. It's not someone saying, name the bridge after me. It's an association that remains general and community-based. It's really conveying that idea that we as a community believe in our community. So I'm particularly grateful for that. And especially to have a group of people who recognize that, yeah, we probably could get FEMA money for this. But talk about waiting until the cows come home. It would literally take us a decade to get this bridge rebuilt. And so to have someone recognize the truth, the reality about how long it takes to get federal support on projects, and to say, for the good of the community, let's make this happen. And so that, I'm particularly grateful in that way. So to the Cary Drive, Haas Avenue Association, thank you on behalf of the city of San Leandro. So now I've got a conundrum because this bridge spans 2 council districts. And I'm trying to figure out who wants to make the motion and who wants to second.
I'll defer to Councilmember Bowen.
So at this point in time, I recognize Councilmember Bowen.
Thank you, Councilmember Veras Walton. I will make a motion to adopt a resolution, accept the letter of intent to donate and authorize the city manager to expend the donated funds in the amount of $5 million to aid in the replacement of the Cary Drive, Haas Avenue pedestrian bridge.
I've got a motion from Councilmember Bowen on this item. Councilmember Viveros Walton.
I'd second the motion.
And I've got a second from Councilmember Viveros Walton. So with that, looking down the aisle, I see no interest in further discussion. So let's vote.
All votes are in. Motion passes unanimous 7-0.
Okay, at this point in time, yay. At this point in time, we are at our natural break, but we're also past all of our action items. So I'm going to look down the aisle and see if I get some head nods to just kind of power through the end. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of let's power through. So item number 11, council request to schedule agenda items, future agenda items. Seeing none, I'll move to item 12, city council reports, announcements, topics of concern to the community, starting with Councilmember Blue.
Is it too late to get in on this? Oh, never mind. I just want to let the council know next week for the work session, I'm going to be probably coming in a little bit late. I'll try and come in quietly. I have mandatory CPR recertification to stay current on how to save a life.
Councilmember Viveros Walton.
Just third time I'm reminding everyone, but I will be absent on the September 16th meeting. I have a work retreat, an overnight 2-night retreat for my work. So I will not be here and I will not be able to call in either, as I will not have reception. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Bowen.
IT, can you share my screen? IT.
I will make this quick. I joked that I could do a 50-point slide deck, but I stuck to 3. So apologies for the busyness of the slide deck. I just wanted to share a little bit about the amazing 3 weeks I spent at Harvard at the Kennedy School in July, and really appreciate the city, this council, for supporting professional development, leadership training. It was incredibly transformative. The Ask What You Can Do I'm sitting next to another member of the cohort who is also a former Peace Corps volunteer. And if, as many of you probably know, John F. Kennedy started the Peace Corps, and that was my journey into public service. And so it was really wonderful to be in that space. And that room is where I spent all day, every day, with 82 other people. And I was clearly very, very happy to get my certificate at the end. You can see all of my teeth. I was also ready to go home. It was exhausting. Callie, if you could just go to the next slide. Any of these things will be things that I would be happy to share in more depth, and I will build out that slide deck if you want. But one of the things that continues to stay with me, including all the books of all the professors that were that taught to us, are a lot of different policy frameworks that are incredibly impactful and relevant and necessary to the work that we do. I put a few up here, but one of the ones, technical versus adaptive challenges, and really pushing myself and us as leaders to be more effective and show up in the ways that we can as times change. My favorite course was on behavioral economics. I studied psychology and economics, and so I felt like I was fangirling all of my teachers, and I just highly recommend the entire short list of books to any of you. You can borrow all of them. And then Kelly, the next one. This is actually where I think the magic happens, because those 82 people that were in my cohort, they are leaders, elected, just amazing humans who I don't doubt for a second that I could message on our incredibly active WhatsApp group and say, hey, we're talking about an alternative response unit. What are you doing in your city? And they were able to come back with, you know what, in Denver, this is what we do. In Tallahassee, this is what we did. And this is how it could work. So in real time, even when I was there, we were talking about homelessness. I was literally working on a case study with the executive director for Sacramento County on homelessness, talking about what sort of programs that they have, what might work, and sharing resources and connections. I've already been sharing a lot of these projects with Janelle and others, and I'll continue to send the emails, but we basically now have a network across the country of executives are doing phenomenal work. And I feel very, very fortunate that my group was actually 2/3 city managers and city executives, because again, they're the ones doing the work. And so I can say, hey, we have a problem. What are you doing? And they have the playbook, and they are more than willing to share that out, and we can utilize that. And so I just want to offer up, all the learnings that I had, and really just express my gratitude to this. And I'm so excited for our city staff to continue to go. And Brian isn't in the room, but there was a big plug for librarians to attend, and other people that work in city government to be able to kind of share their ideas. And so I just really excited about it.
Thank you. Councilmember Aguilar.
Thank you, Mayor Gonzalez. So after Harvard Fellowship, I started another fellowship, which is water education for Latino leaders. And so on July 9th, I was in El Segundo at the West Basin Municipal Water District, working with my cohort to talk about the method of inquiry. We toured the pure water treatment plant. We toured the LA River. We talked about water affordability with the general manager, Stephen Tucker, and he works for the Water Replenishment District in Southern California. And we also went through the history of California water by Dr. Pablo Ortiz. And on August 9th through the 10th, I was in Imperial Beach, where we got to understand the issues with raw sewage leaking into the Tijuana River and contaminating not only Tijuana Beach, but Imperial Beach. And, in that water is also carcinogens, and people are also getting cancer. So it was great to see the Mexican sewage treatment plant in Tijuana. But it was also great to be on the U.S. side to see the International Wastewater Treatment Plant, where Congress has approved $300 million to help renovate. And so we're working in collaboration with Mexico and speaking with Dr. Gabriela Munoz Melendez, who's also working on the Mexican sewage treatment plant. We also met at the Tijuana River Estuary to walk through the public narrative to kind of tell our own story and to help understand water policy. On August 2nd, I did a membership, and National League of Cities LGBTQ local officials meeting. We talked about memberships. We're working on a retreat. I am partnering with Victory Institute to put forth our first conference in DC with National League of Cities. So that will happen December 4th through 6th, and partner with Victory. National League of Cities LGBTQ will have their own sessions focused on municipal leaders, and we're partnering with various organizations to help fund that. So that was my report.
Thank you. Seeing no others, I'll just kind of quickly identify a couple of things on my side. Items of interest to the community. I've seen significant social media chatter about the marina. There was a unflattering news story about the marina, which I think significantly blew out of proportion some things that have happened at the marina. But what I would like to highlight in particular, I'd like to start with the marina redevelopment, because in speaking with a number of residents, there's just fundamental misunderstanding about what's going on with our situation around the marina redevelopment. So I'm just going to read through some of the talking points that we have prepared. So in 2022, the city of San Leandro provided a loan to Cal Coast. That was our selected developer to buy the 9-hole marina golf course property. The development plans for the land call for a redesigned 9-hole golf course and residential development. I think we've seen all the pictures and all that kind of stuff. We know that the legal entity that was going to do that redevelopment and to whom the city lent money to purchase the property has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on June 20th of 2024. To be clear, it's not that all CalCoast entities have gone bankrupt. It is that the specific legal entity associated with that specific development has requested Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. That is a significant difference. 3, the city of San Leandro is not financially exposed. I think there's chatter on social media that the city has lost $25 million. The city has lost its property. The city has done terrible things. Actually, the city's loan is secured by the underlying property. So it's either we get paid or we get the property. So we are not financially exposed. We anticipate the bankruptcy process to take at least 9 months. Anything that involves court proceedings just takes time. And that's a reality. But despite that, it's really important that the public understands that we continue to work with the developer. The developer is submitting plans. We're corresponding with the developer. We're working constructively to continue the process of moving the development forward. We as a city are committed to that development, and we will continue to work to support that development. Obviously, we are interested in protecting our own rights in the bankruptcy process, and we have legal counsel that is advising and supporting us. We will provide periodic updates to the community, but those are the facts, so we can put an end to the negative, misleading social media chatter. The other thing that I'd like to highlight at the marina area in particular is that I have seen active engagement by Public Works team, by the police department, by the city manager's office, by the city attorney's office in working through some of the challenges that we have faced with illegally dumped boats. And for boats that are using the boat launch and public access space to turn it into what one might perceive as their own private property. And to work through the legal angles, work through the realities of what's involved in maritime enforcement. I think the city is doing a persistent job at addressing that issue. I can give you one specific example for the benefit of the public. I visited the marina on August 14th and took a picture of an abandoned boat that had been dumped on the public access boat ramp. Reported it to the city. That boat is no longer there. Every single time that we have to remove boats, it costs us money. So my encouragement to the public is support us in identifying the illegal dumpers. Take pictures of license plates, write them down. Please be our eyes, because no one's going to be out there individually 24/7. But we've got 90,000 residents and lots of visitors to our community. So please, when you see illegal dumping and you can identify the vehicle associated with that illegal dumping, please call San Leandro Police at 510-577-2740 and touch through the menus to get to leave a tip and just leave the information. Because by working together, we're actually driving change at the marina. You go all the way back to, I think it was 2005, when the decision was made to no longer fund dredging at the marina. So this concept that something has happened in the last year or last few months that has killed the marina, that's simply factually not true. The decision was made almost 20 years ago to allow that land to silt. I just want to be very clear that we are working proactively to continue the economic revitalization. So with that, we're going to move to our closing of our meeting. And, you know, it's with our break in August, we really weren't able to recognize Ellen Corbett. You know, many of you know, and to the extent that you don't know in the public, Ellen Corbett, our former mayor, passed away about 4 weeks ago, I guess it is now. Our first directly elected female mayor. She was literally a trendsetter. She broke that glass ceiling. But then she went on from San Leandro to serve in the Assembly, on to serve in the Senate of the state of California, served as a majority leader in the state of California, all from San Leandro, California. And while she was doing this, she didn't abandon momhood. She was a full-time mom. She had her son with her a lot. We shared daycare with Ellen. We'd see her rushing in and making sure that he was at her side often. There's images of her son pulling on her pantsuit. Sheila Young had many kind words to say about Ellen, our mayor emerita. And so I think that recognizing when someone has gone out there and made a difference, promoted consumer protection legislation, promoted protection for the most vulnerable, we should lift that up. One small way to do that is to close in her honor tonight. Before doing that, I do want to let people know that there will be a memorial service for Ellen at Church of the Assumption. It's right off of 580 in Sybil. That will be on September 21st, Saturday. It will be at 10:30 in the morning. And the memorial is open to the public. So with that, I'd like to adjourn in Ellen Corbett's memory with 15 seconds of silence. It's 9:15 and we are adjourned.